beautiful one we have there. And, well, Stephen, okay, let me just leave you because you still look like you're dazed. Well, it's in that celebratory mood we welcome you to that show that has been the longest television breakfast show on the NTA, talking about Morningride, that program that gives you a great jolly ride into your weekend and setting the tone for the rest of the week. We say good morning to you. Of course, I'm not the only one on the show this morning. Somebody is still looking rather dazed here on my right-hand side, but I also have with me... Of course, yes. Okay, maybe he's woken up. He's out of his daze now.
It's amazing because, I mean, you hear... The reason why it's called the talking drum is the fact that I was communicating with the drum.
Okay.
Stephen, can I ask you something? Do you even know what it's called in Yoruba?
Well, I know it's called gogongo.
It's called gongo in Yoruba.
Did you just go gongo?
Oh boy! All right.
Lolade, it's amazing because all I was hearing the talking drums say to every one of us is the fact that regardless of how challenging 2016 was, we will say it's worse because, I mean, this is the final day.
Exactly.
That 2017 is going to be an amazing year.
Fantastic
year. If you didn't hear the talking drum say that, we have to take that as a
okay.
And Yola, tell us what you heard the talking drum say.
Well, I did not hear anything. I just know that
I was enjoying the beat.
I was enjoying the beat. Yes, really. I did not hear anything. I wasn't even trying to listen to whatever it was trying to say. But all I know is 2017 is going to be a fantastic year. And then we should all look forward to a greater year or greater days in 2017. And of course, my name is Eniola Abubakar.
Yes, I guess he forgot to. I mean, he was so carried away with the.
I'm always excited when I have these ladies. I mean, this is a complete family right now. I have Lolade back. I have Eniola as always. And these women, oftentimes, as always, we just balance you. They are one of the reasons why we are able to survive 2016. Although Lolade took off, we understand that. But, we want to say we love you. Myself and Eniola, I love you so much. We have a special sports segment coming up. And I'm so excited to have Lolade is here because I know he's our forte. But first and foremost, one thing we've learned on the Morningride show, Nigeria's longest running TV show, as a matter of fact, since 1988, is the fact that all of this has not been done alone. We have the cast and crew who have made this possible. I want to acknowledge Saromi, Shego Oladikbe, Shego Aremu, Campos, Indiana. Indiana himself is the one who carries the beers, but it's never grown beyond that. And Lucy is out there. Lucy is, as usual, my favorite person. And Chinyere, she's always sitting behind the console, she's just typing out and all that. But you do a wonderful job. Silvanos, that person seems to be somebody's shadow, chasing you up and down. But he always has that smile that makes life easier, And Lucky, of course, Lucky himself. We thank God for Lucky because
the lucky
if not,
one.
He's truly a very lucky one. Lekon, Abraham, and Kazim, the man who makes sure the engineering goes up. And then again, our director, Godwin. We want to say a big thank you. All of you have made 2016.
But I'm sure you have not completed that list because there are still so many others talking about Nkem Lawrence, talking about Mike, talking. I mean, several.
Richard.
Yes, Felicia is what?
Felicia.
So many. I mean, when you talk about Morningride, there's so much that goes into
and
the
of course
show.
The voices behind all the
Francesca, and Messi.
All right. I guess we can't exhaust, the names of everyone on the show. But, I mean, it gives you an idea that there's so much that goes into this show week in, week out. And having started the show this beautiful way, of course, I also forgot to introduce myself. I am Ololade Adeniji Adele. Let's set the ball rolling now as we bring you the stories that made the headlines in the course of the week.
Some major news headlines during the week. First, on a review of headlines during the week was this bold headline on the New Telegraph of Tuesday, December 27, 2016. Army return Sambisa Forest to training ground. That's from Buratai. And with the riders, the worst is over, says federal government. IBB governors lead military. Shiba girl by released by Boko Haram, a miracle. On the front page were also these sub-headlines. Unregistered SIM cards, MTN pays 80 billion naira fine to federal government. I've lost my source of livelihood, says Rahana's mother, as limbless girl dies at 19. Reps seeks 20-year jail term for terrorism financiers. And with the rider, landlords of used buildings face life jail. The Daily Trust of Wednesday, December 28, 2016 has this bold headline: Sambisa, captured Frenchman repairs APCs. And with the rider, how top officers led Sambisa offensive. On the front page were also these sub-headlines: DSS foils terror attacks in U.S. Full board appointments in January. That's from the presidency. The Guardian newspaper of Thursday, December 29, 2016, has this bold headline: Government raises import duties on consumable luxury goods. And with the riders, SUVs, boats, sport cars now attracts 70%. Rice, alcoholic spirits, 60%. Fairly used Tokumbo cars, 35%. Industrial oils, boats, others down to 5%. On the front page was also this sub-headline: Passengers stranded as Hamilton haze disrupts domestic flights. Police foil plot to bomb Third Mainland Bridge. This bold headline graced the front page of the Daily Sun of Thursday, December 29, 2016. And with the rider, mastermind, other gang members arrested. On the front page were also these sub-headlines: Buhari to dump close associates in shake-up. Federal government spent 100 million naira to buy kitchen utensils for Aso Rock. No going back on Biafra. That's from the Biafra Independent Movement, BIM. 3 siblings locked up by mom in a room, burnt to death. The Guardian newspaper of Friday, December 30, 2016, had this bold headline: 4 ministries get 70% of 2017 recurrent vote. And with the rider, 1.46 trillion naira goes to interior, education, defense, health. And last but not the least was this bold headline on the Daily Sun of Friday, December 30, 2016. Federal government recovers 14 new SUVs from permanent secretary. And with the rider, investigation ongoing, says minister. Abia Assembly sacks speaker, picks replacement. Plastic rice are stories by Customs, NAFDAC. Sambisa, military dismisses Shekau's video. Federal government to spend 32 billion naira to fight corruption in 2017. And that's our package on headlines during the week. Morning Ride continues shortly.
Yes, those were the news stories that made the headlines. And I know that between Stephen and Eniola, okay, we've had so much going on behind the cameras. What is it for you, Eniola?
No,
I mean, of all those stories.
No, sincerely speaking, aside from the stories, what is so challenging and so heartbreaking for me right now is the situation that is happening right now in southern Kaduna.
Okay.
And it's very heartbroken for me because I know I have friends that are losing or that have lost loved ones in these particular killings and all that.
And
that
for
is
you,
very, very
Stephen?
heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think one of the newspaper story that actually caught my eye is what Junaid Mohammed says: Igbo can go, but it won't be easy. There will be consequences. Nobody's going anywhere. We are better together. The whole concept of Nigeria. Yes, there will be those frustrating experiences and exposure. But I mean, I was born in Lagos, and I'm a proud Lagosian.
Yeah, right.
You want to argue that?
Yeah,
Even if
right.
I know my dad are from River State. But the beauty of the
Proud
fact is
Lagosian
that
indeed that you could not even pronounce gong
Gong, gong, gong.
correctly.
Gong. It doesn't
Please,
matter. It
please,
doesn't-
just use that gong, gong, gong.
But the beautiful thing, Lolade and Eniola, is the fact that there are going to be challenges. Life has a whole bandwagon of that. But what matters most is for us to sit around the dialogue table and tell ourselves, this is what I want that will make me believe that Nigeria can work for every one of us. Nobody has a right to take the life of
Of
another
any
person.
other person, be it a
Nobody.
Nigerian,
You know,
be
nobody.
it anybody.
Except, I
Nobody.
mean, if the court gives
Exactly,
capital
you know,
punishment
the
for whatever
verdict
it is, you know.
for that. And for me, really, you know, because I don't want to get swamped in all of this sadness that's going on around. But something really intriguing, even though it has its consequences, the plastic rice drama.
I
Are
don't
you
understand
serious?
what is
Yeah,
going
the
on.
plastic rice drama. Finally,
you
we're
know.
told we don't have plastic rice in
And
Nigeria.
then all of a
It's
sudden-
no, it's contaminated rice.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yes.
NAFDAC, was it NAFDAC?
Both
and
NAFDAC and the customs,
Customs.
actually
yes.
to work
You
it
know,
out.
after proper, you know, checks, investigations in the laboratories, these rice were discovered not to be plastic rice, but contaminated rice,
okay.
not good for consumption for Nigerians.
Okay.
So, well, at least,
That puts your minds right. I can eat
yes,
rice by myself.
yes, because I was wondering, how am
there
I
is
going
that
to
scary
know?
factor in it.
I'm
Am I sure
telling
this
you,
is
am I
plastic
sure
or
this is
a-
plastic or this is original?
Well, whichever way it is, I just know that no matter what the situation is, Nigeria is better. And at the same time, we are going into 2017. Lolade, Stephen, I would not, in order for me not to use New Year resolutions, I
I
would
don't
just say,
believe
can you
that.
mention one goal that you are looking to achieve in 2017?
You know what, Eniola? You know what, Stephen? I think it would be nice for us to have like a minute or two to reflect on all of this. And I think we'll reflect on all of this while we take, you know, a musical break. And when we come back, we'll answer her question.
All right, welcome back to your favorite program, Morningride. And today we have our very first guest on the seat at this particular moment. And then we are going to be talking about religion, society, and leadership. And it's going to be with no other person but Pastor Rotimi Olu Joseph. He's a proprietor. He's a youth empowerment personnel, and he's into so many other things. He's also, of course, he's a pastor, so he's head
Right.
of a particular religion. Of course, he's a pastor in that regard.
Right.
So, Pastor Rotimi Olu Joseph, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Happy New Year in advance.
Yes.
I can say it
we
because
have few
today
hours
happens
to go
definitely today happens to be the last day of
of the year.
in the year 2016, and then of course all of us are looking to a better 2017, majorly in Nigeria. You know. So how are you doing personally, sir?
Well, everyone that is in Christ,
Of course.
must be doing well.
Definitely, definitely. All right. So, Pastor, talking about religion and in our society right now, and talking about majorly, talking about what we have going on and so many other things that are happening in Nigeria at this particular point in time. How do you think Nigerians should actually, you know, with all these things that we have going on, how do you think, or what do you think Nigeria should practically put your minds on in order not to lose focus of bigger things that happen in our nation at this particular point in time?
Actually, in Nigeria, we love God so much.
Yes.
And God loves us so much too. It's like somebody was saying, God must be a Nigerian. But it's so unfortunate that we don't make him the first person in all the things we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can be doing that, I think we will not be having problem.
Yes.
The same God of yesterday
Yes.
is the same God of today.
Yes.
And is the same God of tomorrow.
Of course.
Every nation that has forgotten God will be walking in darkness.
Okay.
They will be searching for what is not lost.
Okay.
And Nigeria is standing on a very good land. But the problem, every problem like this have been in the Bible.
Definitely.
But what I will tell our people is that we need to go back to the Lord.
Yes.
Go back to him. He's our creator. He's our pathfinder. He's the one that can,
He
in
can
fact,
help us.
things supposed to be working naturally well for us if we have love and fear of God. Love and fear of God.
Okay.
Because the change that we need in this country can only come when there is love from one to the
To
other.
the other. That means we are supposed to just love one another just like we love ourselves.
Yes.
In order to promote the
Yes.
country, in order to make the country a better place.
A better place.
Of course.
Because every nation that put God first, look at some nation, they put God first. And when they stop to put God first,
Then
they
things-
face the music. So I've been saying it several times. Many times I have opportunity to tell so many people that we need to go back to God. We
no
don't
matter
need
what
to
the case may be.
search for solution. The reason why we are not getting solution in this country for now
Yes.
is because many of us are not doing the will of God. Many people in the country, is the country for the best ritual, is the country for the smuggler, is the country for those that are corrupt, is the country for, we still export Christianity as well. You see, all things are mixed up in the country, and when things are mixed up like that, it's polluted. We need to be cleansed. We need to be straight with God.
All right, Pastor, I know that we've been talking, or majorly what we've been talking about ever since we started this particular chat is basically because it's basically on what we are supposed to do to actually make Nigeria move forward, to be a better Nigeria, to be better people in this particular country. So my point is, my next question is, as a pastor, as a person, I know that, I know before this interview we started talking about the things that we need to do the things that you have been doing personally to make to empower youth and to make Nigeria move forward. So for you personally, what do you think Nigerians need to do to help one another to move forward, to promote one another, to promote the country itself?
Something that came to my mind most times is that our youth are the most important part of the nation. Our youth, we need to really take care of them, empower them, train them, educate them. That's the area we have neglected, which I think Nigeria should come back to.
Okay.
When you look at the universities that we have, they are not enough.
Yes.
We need to train more of our youth instead of. There are different types of schools. If you don't allow your youth to go to university, there is university of bus stop. They'll go to bus stop and learn.
Definitely.
Being
So
a
many
tout.
other stuff.
So
that they are
many
not supposed
other
to
things
learn.
they will learn. So we need to unlearn, make them to unlearn so many things. We need to bring them back, teach them about moral. One thing that has destroyed, you see, you cannot give a budget to a nation that is not trained. They will not produce anything. They will only consume. So that is why most of the time our people are not productive, because we are not training them. We are not allowing them to be creative. I mean, the creative skill in them is not tapped.
It's dying.
It's dying. We are not bringing it out. We are not allowing them to realize themselves, and the country is supposed to give them all the youth independence.
But how can this be corrected, in your own opinion, Pastor?
It's getting too late. This thing is practical. We apart from prayer, we need to keep on training the youth and the society, especially the mass media, need to talk about the area of life that are not good.
Okay.
The moral empowerment will open way. If your mind is right, you will produce right things. You see, and Nigeria will be good.
Okay.
But the problem we have, you see a thief, people will say, leave him now, everybody is a thief. You see the type of mind people are having. So we need a right mind in this country. We need to start right. The problem is not that we don't have money. We can never be poor in this country. But we are poor in the area that we don't help people to stand on their feet.
All right, Pastor, in as much as I would love to continue this interview, because you seem to be very passionate in this particular topic, talking about Nigerian youth and empowerment and the rest of it, and what we can do to make Nigeria a better place. Because the way it is on this particular program, there's never enough time. We have so many other guests waiting right now. But before we go, can you give us one last message for the season? And besides, we are going into 2017. There should be a message, or I'm sure there is a message that you want to give out there to Nigerians to launch themselves into 2017.
Yes.
Yes.
Before I quickly go into that one, there is something going on now. There is a business that will make our people to be rich as they are entering into this 2017. You don't need to depend on government. Depending on government, you can go to the website, buy some currency, digital currency, cryptocurrency. It's going on now.
But whichever way it is, this particular one, you understand, the business that you're talking about, you understand, is that your own, is that what you're doing, or is that what others?
I train people on how to register there.
Is that way? No, that is your own way of having to help youth. Is that your own way of helping youth?
That is my own way. I've trained many.
All right, no problem about that at all. So your last word for Nigerians to enter, to launch themselves into 2017 before we can go on.
This is the year of a new beginning. It is a year that will launch us into the next 9 years. Anything you want to do in the next 9 years, you can take a step right now. It's a fresh start.
All right.
So many of us want to do good things, want to do something, but we've been keeping it. This is the year you take a bold step. It is the year you must do something new. And that something new this year will work.
Amen. And
Amen.
you've heard it there. Nigerians, you've heard it from Pastor Rotimi Joseph's mouth. Whatever it is that you need to do in the year 2017, all you need to do right
Just
now is
do
that
it.
take a step and then begin to do it. And then, of course, we have a chat with Oba that is coming up next. It's not every now and then that you have a whole Oba in the studio. So we have him in the studio, and I'm sure Lolade and Stephen, they are getting ready to have that tete-a-tete with Oba himself. And then I'm not going to tell you which Oba, but of course we have an Oba in the studio. And then, so of course we have, in order for us to go into the very next program, enjoy this musical break coming up next.
All right.
Okay, yes, that was Lara George. Even though you didn't get to see her, but there were several words of hope, words, to build our spirit upon. And the show is still Morning Ride. Out there, we had Eniola discussing, about the reason for the season. And still in the mood of that discussion on the reason for the season, and basically looking at Nigeria as a nation and the way forward, the role of the traditional institutions, we have with us a royal father. Yes, it's not every day we have a royal father. Stephen.
Yes, so he is no other person than His Royal Majesty Oba Gbolahan Akambi Timson, the Jagumolu III of Shomolu Barika.
Kábíyèsí o, kádé pẹ́ lórí, kí bàtà pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀,
Thank you
kí
very much.
rùkẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ́ lọ́wọ́,
Kí àṣẹ pẹ́ lẹ́nu,
kí àṣẹ dẹ̀ pẹ́
ìbà
lẹ́nu.
ọdún
Oh,
ọdún
please.
kan. I had to do that. Lolade had to take that away from me. Kábíyèsí, I had to practice that,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's amazing when you have a traditional ruler joining us on Nigeria's longest running TV show. Earlier on, we had a pastor talking about the role of the youth, how important it is that people have to build their own self-worth and not necessarily depend on government. But then we also know that in a democracy, especially which we have, the world has accepted, the former democracy has been the best form of governance. But we also know there are stakeholders in this democracy, whether you are an elected politician, you are a voter. We also have the traditional rulers, the traditional institution is very critical in ensuring that we build a sustainable democracy, so to speak. And it's really a wonderful experience to have you right here seated. Our first question will be this. How do you think we fared so much in this democratic setting so far?
Well, to be candid, we have tried, and I want to give a pass mark. See, the worst democratic dispensation would be far better in any form than any other form of government, particularly that of military, because it is associated with violence, bloodletting. Democracy should not, and you find out you don't overthrow a democratic government through any other means but gun. And if you're taking over from our last experience from one party to the other has not really happened in this country smoothly. So to get that right, I give kudos to our leaders.
Giving kudos to our leaders, Kabiesi, I also, but looking at you are a representation of the people. You're a representation of, royalty and the traditional institution.
That's correct.
Looking at this democracy, still on our democratic dispensation, the role of our traditional rulers in all of this. I'm talking, I want to use Lagos State now as a microcosm of Nigeria.
Yes.
How will you say our traditional fathers, our royal fathers, have fared in, lending their voices to the happenings in the society and also steering our people in the right path?
You see, let me take you from this point of view. Legally, we're talking constitution. There is no much role for an Oba to play. All you have to do is an advisory role, except you are an extrovert Oba who can make comments at randoms. Aside from that, all you can do is passing your advices to governments, from the local government level to the state government level. And that is not good enough for us. That is underutilization of that position. The institution of Obaship in the past has not been that in Nigeria here and in several other places of the world. You see, there are roles ascribed to them to play in the act of governance.
We know, for example, in the United Kingdom,
Yes,
Queen
I mean,
plays a
the
critical
Queen,
role in driving-
In
plays
so
a
many
critical
places,
role.
in Morocco, in so many places, in
Even
Spain,
in France and Spain.
in so many places, even in Netherlands here. Yes, you still have this, and they work hand in hand with the government and move things around.
Because naturally, people will think that in a democracy, where all stakeholders must play a critical role, the partnership between the traditional institutions, because you are the custodians of the values that actually drive, development.
That is the true representative of God on earth is the traditional Obas. Yes, because you don't have a time to change. You don't have a tenor of 4 years or 8 years, or 2-time tenor, or 3-time tenor, or 1-time tenor. No, it's a lifetime thing.
But
True replica of God's person on earth is Oba, because it is for the entire of your lifetime.
Well, so some people might argue that.
But Kabiesi,
it's
I want to believe that in Lagos State, the governors, that we've had since the inception of democracy have always carried the traditional rulers along, talking about having town hall meetings even with the people where, the opinions of the traditional institutions have been held in high esteem and have helped to shape some government policies. Are we wrong to think this way?
I will agree with you on that. But the fact remains that town hall meeting and any other meeting in particular has no legal backing or that no constitutional ascribed role.
Yes, but
For
it has
them.
helped to shape.
It has helped to shape. You see, if it's an advisory role, it ends there. There's nothing you can do. When, for example, legislative arms of the government in the state passes a particular law or recommends a particular thing, it has to be followed. It has to be monitored. It has to be seen to be done because it's law. But when you advise at the town meeting hall or request or talked about some ills of the societies, it is you are still advising. This is not right. Government should address this. Government should do this. Yes, most of our governors have been listening and they've been acting upon them. But you find out that it is still an advice. You're still playing an advisory role.
What would you want to be done, to correct this situation, this, supposed anomaly?
You see, what I would like to see is a situation where the legislative arm of governments can be seen to carry the overship institution along the act of governance.
Legally.
Is this in terms of bills being enacted, in terms of policies being, constructed? And
Yes, because this thing at the end of the day will affect your people.
That's true.
Yeah, so you have to be part of it.
Yeah,
You
but-
have to be allowed to make submissions, make memorandums, so submit memorandums on bills to be passed, particularly as it affects your own area, your domain. The people who live in the riverine areas cannot have the same problem with the people who live in the metropolitans.
That's a
So
fact.
you have to defend your people as well. If we are people of the riverine areas, we have a peculiar problem. And the generality of the law you make is for the entire state. It doesn't take cognizance of that
Particular
special
challenge.
peculiarity. So these are the things that I think should be put into consideration, particularly by that arm of the government, because that is the engine room for the state government, to function
There's a
very
question
well.
that has been itching for me to ask.
Yes.
Because listening to you, you sound very enlightened. You seem to be a man who have a total grasp on modern trends. And people wonder that if the Obership as an institution has to play a much more productive and progressive activity in the modern day democracy, then the personality of the Oba himself or the Obership itself must carry a spirit of true leadership, must carry a spirit of innovation. Do you think that the traditional institution presently is exposed enough to be able to, play that particular role if they're not exposed to modern day, machineries?
Yes, I think it's cheap enough to do that for so many reasons. One, most of the others that are being appointed now, there are conditionalities from the government angles. You have to be well educated. It is not you are picked up as an Oba and you are just there not knowing what they are saying and just keep nodding to everything being said. No, you have to be. And of course there used to be regular crash programs of some seminars and things like that for Obas in those days. In the time of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a lot of Oba are, sensitized in ASCON, Administrative Staff College.
Yes,
of-
that's impressive.
Yes.
That's impressive.
So you find
I
out.
hope that's still ongoing, this kinds
No,
of
no,
training.
no,
I think
it's
this
not
administration
yet.
has to be able to adopt that as well.
Yes. So that will keep you. That is official. Individually, you can develop yourself. To know what is going on. If you are an IT personality, of course, you know everything that's going on in this global village now, the world as a whole. So you know what is happening everywhere, every day. And you can react to them, you can pick something from them and make some submissions.
I'm impressed because
Well,
really, this is one of the reasons why Shomolu Bariga seems to be making a lot of progress in that
I
sense.
think I would like
Yes,
to-
interesting. But you know, Kabiese, we have completely run out of time for this particular segment of the show. But before you go, I just must ask you this question. I mean, it's not really a question, but basically we want words of advice, words of wisdom on the way forward, especially for our youth. We still have, you know, and not just about Lagos State or in Shomolu alone, talking about Nigeria. We've had, you know, we still have some ongoing re-elections, by-elections and all of that being, going on. There's a lot of violence all around.
Certainly.
There's a lot of youth restiveness around. Please, as we go into the new year, the 2017 is just a few hours away. Give us words of encouragement, words of wisdom and advice for our youths especially.
Number
And of
one.
course, extend that to the governor himself because he's watching. He needs to hear.
Yes. Number one, the youth, people clamoring for space for youth to operate, the leaders of tomorrow to be encouraged. I don't think is the right statement
Okay.
because the docility you find in the youth of today is encouraged by the politicians. Yes, they don't allow them to develop their brains. And the youths also allow that too. Rashid Balamosi, you know his age.
Of blessed memory.
Of blessed memory. You know his age when he was a youth, when he became a commissioner. Patutomi, so many others like that. Enahoro, who moved the motion for our independence, at what age? General Yakubu Gowon became head of state at what age? You find out today, like Coalition Inca said, a lot of our youths are still sleeping on their three-seater couch of their fathers in their father's home when they are supposed to be professors and working up to become a minister or something like that. You see, a lot of them are going for easy cash from the politicians, and that is killing their brain. They're going for easy cash. Let me work for this party and make my money. They're not thinking deep. They're not fighting for themselves. They're not fighting to be there. All they're fighting for is to make immediate money from the politicians. I belong to this party, and they're supplying my needs daily. So why am I going
That's
to...
great. But then I think what more you would like to say to His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State?
The
as a way of
governor
wrapping up?
is doing a human's job because he's not tolerating this restive situation in the youths in the states. The cultism is being fought front and back, and you find out that a lot of areas that were affected by this are getting some kind of sigh of relief now. Because Shomolu Bariga is one.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was robbed sometime last month.
Yes. Shomolu Bariga is one, and that is because we have this menace of cultism. And we join hands with the state security agencies, the police, the SSS, whatever, to fight this menace, to stand still. And we are getting a very good result. If we had not been encouraged by the governor, it would have been a different ball game.
Anyway,
Yes.
thank you so very much.
Thank you very
His
much,
Obaship,
Kabisi.
His Royal Majesty Obagbola Akombi Timson, the Jagumolu III of Shomolu
Shomolu.
Bariga. Lorade, what
Yes.
should we be expecting next?
Well, it's still Morningride, and you know, on this show, there's so much coming. We still have sports. We still have to talk about theater and, you know, so much on the show, even though we have very limited time. But let's take a very, very quick break now. And right after that, the show continues. so much more to come on Morning Ride. And now it's time for us to have another discussion. This time around, having spoken about the traditional institutions, we're now going to the theater. And this is one area, that I love. And you're
I
like,
am a huge fan of theater, and most especially art
Yes.
as a whole. I'm a huge fan of that. Talking about art, the painting itself, the drama itself, and so many stuff that has to do with art.
Exactly.
So really,
and this morning
This is my
we're
fault.
honored to have with us. She is a thespian. She is a director, a producer, a writer. She's everything that has to do, with the stage, with theater. She's. I want to call her theater personified. I'm talking this morning about Ayodele Jaisimi. It's good to have you here with us.
Thank you and good morning. It's nice being on the show.
good
thank you
morning. I like the fact that she has the gap tooth just like myself.
Okay, yeah, these two have something in common.
okay.
Even though I don't have that in common with them, we will get, we'll get the show on. Ayo, I mean, you come from way back. Even though, yes, you've been in the public service, yes, she's been a director, she's been this, she's been
A
that.
certified.
In fact, she has so many feathers to her
a
cap.
whole lot.
But I want to ask you, how did writing or anything to do with the arts and the theater come into being for you?
I'm very passionate about people and things that go on around me. I wear many caps. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm a human resource practitioner. I'm in the theater, but I found out that the theater gives you a platform of expression. For example, we're talking very much about change. I listen to all the topics that you have had on the program so far. You're talking about leadership. You're talking about change. You're talking about youth restiveness. Usually, if you want to change anyone or a community or change anything, you have to paint vivid pictures, on the minds or the consciousness of the people. And for me, one of the most effective platforms or channels to do that is the stage. And that's how we started Thespian Family Theatre and Productions about 13 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, so basically for me, I know one of my, like I was telling you earlier, one of my favorite stories that you've done so far is the, what's it called? The Mad King of Judea, which of
Judea.
course you did like 2 years, sorry?
Yes, we did it in 2012 and 2014. Yes,
of course,
yes.
and which is now you have Eton, the
Yes,
story,
yes.
which is going on right now. But before I go into that, how do you think Nigerians are receiving stage play than compared to films
Yeah.
itself?
Well, I think that the theatre is waking up.
Okay.
And you find out that even at this season, you have quite a number of plays that either have gone on or are ongoing, which delightsome. I do believe that with a little more support
Okay.
from the government, like the provision of infrastructure, and sponsorship, or whatnot, I do feel that the theatre business is going to be,
A major deal.
Yeah, but
Okay.
before I know that, there's so much to talk about Eton, but there's something that bothers me. And we hear people talking about the need for a theater village, kind of, a film village. Are you one of those, people who subscribe to the fact that we actually need, something like that here in Nigeria? I mean, look at Cannes, for instance. Cannes has become so big that everyone looks forward to the Cannes Festival every year. And we don't seem to have any such thing here in Nigeria.
Well, I think it's evolving. I think that beyond even having like a theatre village and all whatnot, I think that really almost every community should have, its own little theatre
Okay.
where people can express. Apart from the fact that you're expressing yourself, people are expressing themselves, and it's a platform to learn. It also is it gets young people employed. So I do believe
Of course,
that
it takes them off the street.
and it takes them off the street,
streets,
and
of
they're
course.
actually doing something very useful and very creative. As you know, we're in the creative economy now, and as people do this, you find out that a lot of creativity is going on. Money, people pay sometimes to. I can't remember how much I paid to watch Wicked. In the UK, I think I paid about £70, and I know there were tickets that went as high as 100.
Yes, 100.
Of course, based on where you want to sit.
Where you want to sit. So it is very viable, And we have festivals now that are ongoing.
Yes.
We have like the Lagos Theatre Festival. We took part in that earlier on this year. We have some other festivals
Yes.
that, even the Lagos State has started
Yes.
off. So I do think that realization
Is, coming upon us.
setting in.
Okay.
And
So
now to it on. The
Yes.
story.
It's on
The
the
story.
story. The
Tell us
story.
about it.
All right. It's on the story is a pet project for a Thespian Family Theatre. Not only because it's a very interesting production, but because it's as the name implies, it is a story. We looked at the cross-generational tensions. For example, we talked about youth restiveness. Why are we having youth restive?
Restiveness.
Why is it that when you have the older people and the younger people, there's so much frustration? I listened to someone who said, the young people. I mean, and then if you listen to young people, they're like old people. There's no color. They're too procedural. They want things done.
They're just too focused.
Yes, they're just too focused. I believe that there needs to be an integration of both divides
Okay.
for us to be able to work together. And therefore is a story based on this generational divide. It cuts across 4 generations, and it's time personified, who comes to take 2 people from 2 generations into the past and into the future, so that we can discern how we can work together. And beyond that, I think for me it is also a mesh of the contemporary and the cultural. Because I do believe that our young people also should understand our culture, should see how beautiful our dances, our songs are. And as they understand our history, their sense of who they are, they get to take
comes
they take
out,
a pride.
emerges.
Yes, emerges. And then also their dance, they have a lot of energy.
Energy to
you know,
display.
Yes, to display. So if we channel that energy into something useful, then we'll have them. So that basically is it.
Well, we'll go on with this discussion, but I'm told we have to take a
a
very
break.
quick break now before we return to round off this discussion.
Of course.
Let's take a break. See that there's so much going on around. It is a full house.
It
here
is
that
a
we have
full
here.
house. It is
But
a
very
full house.
quickly, Ayo, it's on. It's been running in the cinemas. Is it still on?
Yes, it is. So we just finished a run at the Museum Center. So we have our next run at the National Arts Theatre,
Yeah.
Igamu, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of January,
January.
3 p.m., 6 p.m. daily.
1st, 2nd,
Fantastic.
3rd January,
Yes.
3 p.m., 6 p.m.
And I can promise you that I will be there.
We'd love to see you.
I will be there.
All right, Ayo, thank you
you.
so much for having been a part of the show. But you're not allowed to go yet.
Of course
Yes,
not.
because we have come to that part of the show where it's time for all of us to come together to say our lovely bye-byes to you.
And to wish you
Unfortunately,
all happy-
Yes, we couldn't take,
Happy
sports
New
on
Year.
the go much longer than it did. It's a bumper package that we have here. But don't worry, next year, that's in a few hours' time, we sure will bring you so much more. So let's have you all. Kabiyesi, please come and join us. Pastor, please come and join us. Yes, and we still have the Conga, the Tumba brand. Yes, we're still here.
Please have a seat.
Yeah, that's that part. We just have to break some of the rules of live broadcast. Pastor, you have a seat. Where the
Please
cast
come
and
on,
the
please come
crew?
You have
Well,
to
you
sit.
have to. You have
Okay,
to.
you might have to
come
come on,
sit.
okay?
Come sit. You take my space.
That is
You see?
beautiful.
Yeah, it's
That
a
is
new
very
year.
kind
It's
of
a
you,
new year spirit,
Stephen.
man.
Yes. And so let's have some bit of, music as we, before we say our final bye-byes here. We still have the Tumba brand with us, in the house. So please, let's have, some... Okay. So I'm sorry, we can't take more. We'll do that continuously right after we say our
2017.
goodbyes
But
on the
before you
show.
say goodbyes, and guess what? Tomorrow is the Oba's birthday. Wish you a happy
birthday in advance. And thank you so much for, to everyone that has been a part of the show. Stephen, you want to say your goodbyes?
Well, it's going to be a wonderful 2017. Keep faith alive. God love you. I love you as God loves you.
Eriola?
Of course, I'm here to say Happy New Year in advance and just keep being positive. That's
All
what I
right.
can say.
Yes, and being positive, that is what we're asking you to be. 2017 is just a few hours, away, and we thank you for having been a part of